Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hattrick's Unofficial Flyers podcast. I'm Rick Mullen, and we are going to talk about the Flyers versus the Washington Capitals game that took place last night. Also, the first game for Porter Martone joining the Flyers. And let's just jump right into it. So, last night we were super excited. We thought, hey, we got a chance at this Washington Capitals team, and we need this win. And lo and behold, when this game started, the Capitals came out like they knew they needed this game more than the Flyers needed this game, and they played accordingly. They came out hitting hard. They came out crazy, crazy tough. I mean, they were smoking guys with hits, and it really got under the Flyers' skin. You could tell the Flyers weren't ready for the intensity of what the Capitals brought. Tom Wilson was running around, for lack of a better term, unchecked for that first period. He was laying some huge hits, and he was pissing off a lot of these Flyers fans. I mean, these Flyers players, they were definitely caught off guard, weren't sure how to respond. And you could see that the first period they couldn't wait to get out of. So it was a tough game. It was a really tough game, but the Flyers did adapt, and they did get a little better. But let's talk through some stats here right now. And shots. Flyers had 24 shots to the Washington Capitals, 18 shots. Hits were 34 Flyers, 25 Capitals. Penalty minutes were 12 to the Capitals and 10 to the Flyers. Face-offs, the Flyers won again. They dominated in the face-off dot. They were 56.1% to the Capitals, 43.9%. So tail of the tape, it didn't look too bad. Really didn't. It was pretty close. Capitals had way more hits right away. And the Flyers adjusted, and again they started getting pissed off, and they start throwing their own hits. And it was good to see them fight back. It was tough to watch, when Wilson was running around taking off heads, and not fun to see. In the first period, I was wishing D'Lo was still on this team and he could get out there. I was really hoping maybe Sealer stepped up, and he tried to throw his weight around against Wilson a little bit. But Wilson, earned his money last night. He's a true power forward, and he scored a goal, and he made a lot of stuff happen for his team. Flyers fall 6-4 in regular time. That looks like a pretty brutal loss when the other teams were chasing, all lost last night as well. There's two ways to look at it. You can say, hey, we didn't lose any ground because the teams we're chasing didn't win either. But to me, that's what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for these other teams to choke, lose a game, while the Flyers win and start catching up. So last night wasn't a terrible outcome because we just stayed the same. We just stayed the same. Everyone we're chasing lost, and we did too. So we're still chasing. It was just a missed opportunity for the Fly guys to get some points earned on Columbus, and sad to see, but that's just what happened. Crazy game last night. You look at these stats and you see Washington only had 18 shots on net, 18, and sadly Vlador was not good last night. He left in 5 goals and an empty netter, but he left in a couple that probably the first two were far out long shots, and he just couldn't track the puck. He was just late to it. He missed one with his glove. One went right over his pad and under his glove. It was good ways to get the puck on net by the Capitals. Again, if you put the puck on net, what happens, right? You got a chance. But, you shoot high and wide, or you don't shoot, you can't score. The Capitals shot, they got pucks on net, not many at all. But the ones they did, Dan Vlador just didn't save them. So poor performance by Vlador last night, and I am not knocking Vlador at all. He's the only reason the Flyers are in the running here. I know he wishes he had that game back, and I'm not going to fault him. Some of the goals that were tip-ins, not these long ones, but some of these ones that were like little rebounds out front, they were defensive errors. I think Ovi came in flying through the slot and got a rebound that he lifted over Vlador, and I think that was Martone's guy. Martone missed. He just, I guess, didn't know how to play against the grade 8. So it was all kinds of things happening last night that I wish didn't. But hey, the Flyers are still the same percentage to either get into the playoffs or not. All the teams are chasing lost. So it's a good reset. Thankfully, the other teams didn't win. This would be a different conversation today, but we're still in it. Nothing's changed. We're still chasing, and everyone's got the same stats that we're chasing. So sad game last night. Got to move past it. We're playing Detroit on Thursday. Let's talk a little bit about Tockett's decision to sit Bump. I I was a little upset. When I saw Bump come out, I thought, what's he doing? Like Bump should be in there. Bump's got a lot of potential. He's a bigger body. I really thought Grunstrom was going to get set. And then, I was scratching my head a little bit at it. I even thought like, hey, maybe they're going to scratch Barkey, leave Bump in, and then put, Martone in, and we have some bigger bodies going against Washington. But, Tocchet decided to sit, Tocchet decided to sit Bump. And, I'm glad he did. That was a mean game. It was much better to have a veteran in there, a bigger veteran in there. And Carl Grunstrom did score a goal. So Tocchet looked a little brilliant on that move last night. I think we all questioned that move. And, but it worked out. Carl was able to play against those big banging bodies. And, Barkey did okay too. But I looking at it, like I said, I think maybe I would have moved Barkey out and put Bump in and just went at this with a little bigger bodied people, players, but that's not what happened. So anyhow, kudos for Tocchet. He knew Grunstrom had a decent game the other game. He said, let me reward this guy and keep him in the lineup here. And and Grunstrom earned it. He went out, got a goal. So nice to see Grunstrom step up and contribute. Porter Martone, let's talk about him. So I was really pumped to see Porter play. I'm sure everybody else out there was pumped to see Porter play. I had goosebumps watching him take his rookie lap. I wish his first rookie lap was here, at the Xfinity Mobile Center, but it wasn't. It was in, Washington. But seeing him out there and watching him like do that rookie lap, it was nice to see. We've been waiting a long time for him. And, I think the addition of Porter Martone in Tocchet's in Tockett's structure, Porter Martone's the one kind of player that Tocchet doesn't have. Porter Martone's a, get to the net, fire shots kind of guy. He had 5 shots last night, Porter. He didn't start off too well. The first period, he looked really, really shaky. He got a penalty for flipping the puck out and delay a game. And I think there was a puck in the corner, and he was kind of watching for a little bit. Not sure if should he have gone in, should he have back checked, should he have forechecked. Kind of got lost there a little bit, which is understandable. It's okay. It's his first game. He had a lot of nerves, I'm sure, and he's playing against the grade 8 out there, so I'm sure he was a little starstruck a little bit too. And can't imagine he's lined up against Ovi. First game in, he's lined up against Ovi. Fantastic for him. It's a great memory. So he had that one game to play against Ovi, and that's it. He'll never play against them again, more than likely, because it sounds like Ovi's, even though not mentioning it, it sounds like he's probably going to retire out at the end of this year. Martone, as the game went by, he had a couple shifts pulled. He like Tocchet did protect him. He didn't put him out there for a little bit. But as we started getting into the third period, Martone started looking more like Martone. He was driving in that. He went to the slot, got a pass, and ripped one at the goal. It was saved, but that was what we lack. We lack that one-timer, that wind-up, that guy that actually loves to shoot. Martone had 5 shots last night. 5. He was the most on the team out of any Flyer. And they were 5 shots on net. On net. Not high and wide, not on a crossbar or a post. They were on net. Excited to see this kid get better. I'm excited to see him get some more games. I think when he gets some time under his belt, he's going to find this net fast. I think he's going to score probably I'm calling it now. He's scoring his next game. By the end of that third period, he looked like he knew what he wanted to do and where he wanted to be, and he got one game under his belt. I think going into the next game, he's going to be a lot looser, and I think we're going to see a Porter Martone first goal for the Flyers tomorrow night at home against Detroit. Book it. um, hey, the last game I went to at the Spectrum, oh my goodness, the last game I went to at the Xfinity Mobile Center, I went and visited Joe Watson. Joe actually has a book out, and he was signing autographed copies. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go down. I'm going to meet Joe. I've had the luxury of meeting Joe before. I played in 2 alumni games against the Flyers alumni throughout my younger years, and always good people. Joe's a funny guy. He loves to talk. Really like Joe a lot. Um, Shook his hand, thanked him for all the memories. We talked a little bit about hockey, and I wish I had some time to talk to him a little more, but there was other people in the line, and I couldn't. But it was a really, really good experience. And let me grab this book here real quick. Hold on a second. All right. So this is Joe Watson's book. It's Thundermouth by Joe Watson. And I believe I haven't read it yet. Just got it, like I said, the other day. But it was I think that's what they nicknamed him, Thundermouth, because he talked too much. It was too loud. So back in the 70s, he had his nickname. He wrote a book. I'm anxious to read it, get some stories under my belt. I've been reading 2 or 3 books on the Flyers now from the 70s, and lot of history there, a lot of really cool stories, a lot of things that I remember as a kid watching, but then, seeing stories from behind the scenes, on top of what I know is pretty cool. It's really cool to see. So if you have a chance, get down there and stop by and see Joe Watson, buy his book, Thunder Mouth, and say hello to him. Thank him for the service to the Flyers through all these years. These guys from the 70s are they're old now, they're aging out, and they're passing away. Sadly, we lost Bernie Perrant this year, and I met Bernie with my son Sean, and got a picture with Sean and Bernie, and didn't get anything autographed, didn't have anything really to get autographed, but it was a great experience. Bernie was a fantastic guy. He really, really took to my son. He showed him his 2 Stanley Cup winning rings, and Bernie was a very, very nice, outgoing gentleman. Really miss him. Sad to see him pass. But it kind of woke me up where, all my idols growing up are aged, at this point, and, they're not going to be here forever. So I'm trying to get out there and meet them as much as I can, get some autographs, shake their hands, say hello, thank them for everything. And, before it's too late. So if you have an opportunity, go see Joe Watson. Go see him. I think he's at almost every home game right now selling his book. I think he's like behind section 112. I think that's where they put him. But if you have an opportunity, stop these guys. They're not going to be around forever. Stop them, thank them, let them know that they were appreciated. They're still remembered, and we're lucky to have had them in the 70s, and we have such a cool story and a cool history here with Philly, and hopefully we're on the right path. We can start creating some more history for all the people who weren't alive during the 70s and maybe don't realize what we had back then, and really maybe only noticed what they've done in the last 10, 15, 20 years, which hasn't been much, which is sad. This organization is desperately in need of a very good team, because it's been a very long time since we've had a very good team. So let's hope we're on the right path and start making some good memories for some of you younger listeners out there. All right. With that said, we are going to call this one a wraps. Porter Martone, great first appearance. Looking forward to seeing him tomorrow night against Detroit. Book it. I say he gets his first goal tomorrow. And until tomorrow night, we'll come with another episode. Go Flyers.